Alright, we're going to try something new in the interest of expedience of time. Got a lot of copycats out there, and I did a lot of material this week. I just need to dump it all so that I can polish it later. So that's what I'm doing. You'll notice I've got a 60 hertz monitor down here lower right hand corner. Do not try this at home unless you have a 60 hertz monitor. You can go to settings, playback speed. You can adjust the playback speed to your liking. So, just in the interest of time, probably won't do this often, but this weekend I have to. So sorry. Or maybe it's a nice improvement in our workflow. Who knows? Talk soon. Take care. God bless.
Now I got your slowpoke, Rodriguez, and next I get your toy.
Yes, master.
How's this, Cousin Slowpoke?
That's very good, Cousin Speedy. But you forgot the Tabasco sauce.
How was it, Cousin Slowpoke?
Very good. Wow. What do we got for dessert?
Dessert? Holy frijoles!
Frijoles? Hey, Speedy,
Yes?
guess what? I'm still hungry.
Try to think about something else.
Ándale, ándale, señor gato.
Yes, master.
I like your pussycat friend. He's nice and stupid. Ándale, ándale, señor gato.
Yes, master.
I like your pussycat friend. He's nice and stupid.
I want to make it really clear because this has come up recently. Just comes to mind just as I make this. There's a story about a fish that thinks a monkey is smart. The fish thinks the monkey is smart because he's able to climb up out of a tree. I'm not belittling anyone when I do my work. I know that everyone has a function. Someone very important to me once described, I think it was an eagle, how an eagle has the perfect set of genetic traits that it needs to survive in its specific environment. And I think the same goes for everyone. And this person described how that you effectively have, and I don't know if this is true or not, but this is the analogy I'm striking. You effectively have saturation of genes, whereby you are complete, you are whole, you are perfect, just the way you are. No one person could possibly be any better than the other. Another analogy comes to mind. You never know what a certain person's traits might come in handy. So you might have heard about eugenicists. I think they're morons because you might accidentally be deleting somebody's genes who are the only ones who would survive a certain cataclysm. And so we all have inherent traits, strengths, and weaknesses for a given environment that would do well in an environment for others. Was it Bill Gates who said that he would be some animal's lunch if he lived in a different epoch? And that's sort of true. You know, if somebody is gifted in one epoch, they might find themselves laggard in another, just because it just really depends on the environment you're in. And so I think everyone is specifically tuned, if not in their own lifetime, in their kin's lifetime, or maybe they've come from a line where they were the right instrument for the application. And so I think God blesses all of his children with special attributes. So I do not in any way, shape, or form disparage others. I do not think I'm smarter than anyone else, actually. I know I come off that way, and I'm not trying to. So I hope that's out of the way. And I hope you're seeing also the brief explainer, how I'm going to do this with the 60 hertz monitor. We ought to be able to go pretty fast. Like I think I said, I've had to do a few takes. Like I think I said, You can use the playback speed button in YouTube to go as slow or as fast as you like. I'll try to go at consistent speed, but that is subject to change. There are places where certainly I'm going to have to pause just for my own organization. And by the way, this is in loose order. I try to go in order of development, but due to the volume of my work this week, it is going to be a little loosely organized. So you can infer, and of course it is possible also that even if I was correct in terms of my development timeline, it might not be true that that's the correct order of things. You know, when you write your first essay, you oftentimes will rearrange paragraphs or sentences to make the whole composition complete. And that's something that I will have to revisit. But just in the interest of time this week, just because there's a lot of volume, just because there's a lot of copycats on my heels, that's why I'm doing it this way. We'll see how it turns out. And so let's get started with this copyright dump. Take care. God bless if I don't open the mic again. Even just going through this first couple of seconds, I came to the realization I might have forgotten something. Hold on a minute. Let's see, short infinity equation. It wasn't an infinity equation, but that's how I'm going to remember it. And then I saw this also in my notes. Let's make sure that this one was pulled up, shall we? I'm going to pull this over here really quick. And we're going to see if this one was already opened. Apologize for this little, I'm already pausing myself. Recursive constants calculation. Let's see if we have it already. Yep, we already have that one. There is something that I forgot that I will have to include in another, because I've already got enough material, wouldn't you say? I've got like a million tabs open. And so this is, I think, poignant. This slide talks about how I start to introduce or reintroduce the idea of flattening. And flattening is actually pretty important for practicality. It also helps us to get a firmer grasp of what's going on with our recursive equations. And as you can see, the chatbot spits out that it can play nice when we rearrange what dimension we're in, which I think is sort of cool, and I think it's also sort of poignant. So as you can see, depending on what dimension you're in, that redefines force or energy, etc., in the context of your recursion equations. And you can see this rendering error. I go to the bottom here and I fix that because this was a really short one that ends up describing, well, flattening. This is the beginning of flattening, and I used flattening prior. I have already published this, Where the Rubber Meets the Road. Be sure to check that article out. I'll go through it really fast. Since it's already published, I shouldn't need to go over it. I'm always worried about somebody coming along and pretending that my work never existed. That's actually happened to me before, per the forums. I've actually had the full of my social media presence, business, personal, etc., deleted. That's a long story, sob story. That's pretty close for everything but Planck. So you can see when you converge upon a solution, it's sort of like, or it had been, sort of like whack-a-mole. You know, you solve one, you can't solve them all. And I can probably even go faster than I'm going due to this I gotta set a tempo. I'm sure I'll settle in. Apologize if I'm going slow and talking at first. If I said I was gonna go fast, we are gonna accelerate here soon, and you'll be able to hit that fast forward or rewind or pause button. Oh, what's going on there? Maybe we won't be able to go fast. I got so many tabs open right now. I'm rocking a 20 thread processor that is jury rigged with a fan right now. Pretty good error, but we come to find out ChatGPT, it likes to fudge numbers sometimes, so you can't really trust any one thread. You have to kind of cross compare. And I'm a little lazy in that I need to start using the provided Python, and I need to start again doing the algebra myself. When I developed that the force equals ohm times coulomb squared divided by meters times seconds, that is my key equation. You'll see I use that all the time, and if you try to run my math without it, you're gonna be lost. You try to use coarse, I call it coarse math or napkin math, to try and run through the numbers. It just won't make sense. You have to use that equation. You have to use my key equation, which I've already proved is correct so many different ways. If you don't, you're gonna find yourself asking why I'm going through so much trouble. You're not gonna realize the reason I'm going through so much trouble is because it only works with my equation, my key equation, and further, that key equation. I lost my train of thought. Bottom line is it only works with my key equation. Oh, and I was gonna say that equation has been proven every which way you could imagine. But you can see, and the reason why, this is so cool. Look at that. The reason why Planck is so elusive is because it's so small, but it's also because of your scaling factor. It's also because of the context that you're looking at things. You know what I mean? So you can see this converges upon really small errors. Oh, is this a... Do you know what? I took this conversation that was about a week old and I made it new with new prompts. That's why. I was trying to figure that out, why it had done that. So this is a combination of an older conversation I had had, and these more recent prompts are from new questions that I've asked it after I've come to some conclusions. And so, like I said before, there's going to be a lot of jumping around potentially, or maybe not. Maybe it'll all line up perfectly, like 10,000 monkeys typing on an encyclopedia, typing on a typewriter, in order to come to the conclusion of an encyclopedia, which of course is impossible, unless of course those 10,000 monkeys are typing for 10,000 million billion years. And then maybe it is possible. So you can go real slow with this, where the rubber meets the road. It's been published now for quite some time. These trees, there's no perfect tool for every application. Some trees are going to describe how to achieve the precise answer, but they're going to be more computationally intensive, and some trees are going to give you the quick answer, but they're not going to be as accurate. So just like anything else, it depends upon the application, which tool in the toolbox that you would choose to utilize. And I apologize, you can, like I said, you can fast forward through this since it's already published. The reason I do this, again, is because of censorship has in the past completely deleted my work. And so I want to make sure, should that occur again, there's multiple copies out there. It would be a pain in the butt to rebuild, and it would be difficult to prove if they were to come in and delete all my work in all the places, I guess it would be difficult to prove. But the idea being it's in so many different places that it would be impossible to disprove when I was first for any of this work. And that's sort of the methodology. I know that I am first for much of this work, and so I just want to take credit for where credit is due. I don't want to take somebody else's work, but I do also know that a lot of this, which I've been working on for essentially decades, I was first, and so you'll find that there are people working on people are gonna, the closer and closer we get to the more precise answer, especially the way I'm releasing it, there's going to be more and more people turning in the exact same work at the exact same time, or very similar work. Their work could be very much, they could have taken a completely different approach, I suppose. But the poignance being that they're going to come to the same conclusions. Otherwise, it's not correct, right? Or I guess they could be correct and have a completely different answer and be in a completely different context. That's certainly possible. But the point is, I do believe that we're getting to crunch time whereby people are turning in their answers at the same time. And so even though I don't really want to do this even right now, I'd much rather be spending time with my family right now. I'm going to try to just run through this really quickly. And by the way, you can see that same equation. I already mentioned that F equals ohm times coulomb squared divided by meters times second equation. But the other emergent equation, the other equation that is used for rapid infilling, which I touch on over and over again here, is, well, let's go over here and I'll show it to you in the most descriptive way that I know of. There it is right there, that equation. That's that sacred geometry equation, which happens to look just like the lotus flower. We're going to get to the nitty-gritty of these equations here shortly, so I'm going to skip past this. We might even be there right now. Yeah, that sacred geometry causes for that lotus flower to emerge. Isn't that awesome? Which tells me that there's really nothing new under the sun. And I think we kind of already knew that, whether we would take it to its limits or not. I think we all kind of already knew that there is nothing new under the sun. And I had deleted, no, I didn't. Okay, this is the gentleman who is ascribed to the Schumann resonance, which is very pivotal for my work and others' work, such as Nikola Tesla. Let's see, let us watch this real quick. You can see where it comes from. And it's the importance of the Schumann resonance for my work is that as I go through one of my slides, you cannot prove a constant. I mean, you can't really, it's difficult anyway, to prove the speed of light. I don't know if that's such a good depiction of it. Yeah, or it's it's sort of like music, isn't it? And harmonics. It's difficult to prove the speed of light. It's difficult to prove the Planck's constant. It's difficult to prove any given constant without special apparatus. But the nice thing about the Schumann resonance, and this gentleman as well, I actually stumbled upon him on accident today, but I think he's probably pretty important actually for the early versions of this. Where was I? The Schumann resonance. You can definitely perceive the Schumann resonance, and you can know that it is a allegory for color and music, which was my early published work. If you look at my Phi, one of my favorite works is the Phi. Oh gosh, oh heck, I'll just type it in for you. Phi. Hello, Philip. That's not what I meant. Give me that Phi, baby. It talks a lot about, and then of course this takes you all over the universe of our website, but it talks a lot about the color and musical note allegory, which is pivotal to all of this. At the end of the day, it can be related to resonances, resonance frequencies, harmonics, color, music being very, and you can see there's some rendering errors, so I gotta run these. I run out of tokens a lot. Harmonics. Talked about that. Oh, I hate to close these in case I lose my session. I might be inhibited. My bottleneck might actually be my hardware. I've got a RX 480 graphics card. Is this the voltage one? The voltage one's pretty cool. The voltage one introduces a inverse tree, and so I view it as a potential key to inverse recursion, whereby with a high enough voltage you can actually well, we start talking about the possibility of going backwards in time, or other reverse inverse recursion effects. And so there's two trees that actually could have been formed. You can have the open recursion and you can have the closed recursion. I might end up talking the whole time, I don't know. You can have the open recursion and you can have the closed recursion. Did I say incursion? Recursion. And that will affect the power for volts especially. I'm sure there are others units that I could explore further that would have similar effect, open or closed recursion. But the idea is that, and when we get to it, which I don't know if it's this one or not, but when we get to it, we come to the conclusion that that voltage has inverse recursive properties when you open it up I think it's as a open recursive tree. And of course I have to use, if you couldn't tell, I have to use trees quite a bit of late in order to compress quite a bit of information down into a down into a palatable form. I hope that I did not accidentally close I'm pretty sure this is it, the voltage tree, voltage slide, focusing in, zeroing in on voltage. Yes, it is. Pretty sweet. So this is some of the polish of this is already published, and some of this will be new. And it could always be that. Oh, yep, here we go, talking about time travel backwards. I'm gonna remember where I am in space really quick. Oh, but this might not have been the one where I go into great detail about time travel. We might save that for another time. But basically, we come to the conclusion that it might have been this one. We come to the conclusion that time travel forward is easier than backward due to entropy, per our model. Which, you be the judge if our model's correct, I suppose. I think it is pretty close to correct. That's why I went through so much trouble developing it, because I realized that things like anchored constants are, well, they create a problem for people who are trying to assimilate the truth. When you're off by an order of magnitude, when you come to the conclusion, and that's the accepted normative in physics, well, there might be something wrong. So yeah, as it turns out, I spent quite a bit of time. The search engine's not so great right now, and that's sort of a prelude to disorganization. Because if the search engine ain't great, it's difficult to recall things. And it has to do with the search engine not doing well with branched items which are hidden behind a branch. So there are actually, and let me add it to my notes. Time travel. Who could forget about time travel? I'm gonna definitely go back to time travel. It's worthy of its own subject matter, and this is being more of a general dump. Time travel is fascinating. Who doesn't like time travel? Who doesn't like those movies about time travel? And what's unlocked by recursion? Hopefully one of these slides has embedded in it the time travel, because I actually do really want to talk about it. But as I was saying before, are you my friend? This is actually a really old slide. This thread is from the early. So I'm mostly doing this one just as an introductory. Oh no. Oh gosh, I thought I lost a branch. Back to musical notes. Euler's is so important. And there's another one, while I'm on it, there's another one I've been digging for. It talks about normalizing entropy. You can actually normalize entropy too, or flatten. Which creates some interesting avenues. As yet, mostly unexplored. I've explored it a little, but I mean, how could you ever stop exploring something like normalizing entropy? Entropy itself being infinite in scope, in scale, and scope. Looks like I stopped that prompt early. Wasn't doing it for me. And then my methodology has evolved, but also the bot has gotten better at remembering things. Back in the day, a couple 3 years ago, it was, or even 6 months ago, it was quite difficult. Okay, so now it was quite difficult to have a continuous conversation, and it still is. I mean, the bot has amnesia. The bot reverts to dogma, which of course we're trying to avoid if we're trying to break ground on new things. But here I start to tune. I'm starting to tune the, oh, did I forget something here? No. I'm starting to tune. And so this one might be actually out of turn. I apologize. But that's okay. And what we can do is a tool called iteration, and I'll start using that word here pretty shortly. and then I've introduced fairly recently base 4096 in place of binary in order to enhance our resolution. Okay, and so this kind of touches on what I was saying before. Your constants, if they are relative, if they are contextual, how do you know that you're correct? And this kind of goes back to the age-old question: do you defer to the observation or do you defer to the mathematics? And of course, if you are deferring to observation, are you trusting somebody else's observation? Did you go through piecemeal everything that they were doing? Are you able to replicate what they were doing in your own control? And the answer is, from what I know now, people always recently anyway have said, trust the science. Ooh, I might have to zoom in so you can see that. Trust the science. Whose science? Where is the replicable? It's supposed to be replicable, right? And so when people are... Why did it get bigger? Oh, there we go. When people are just force-feeding you knowledge, information rather, not knowledge, it's difficult to say that you've accomplished. And by the way, if anybody wants me to publish anything that they see here rather than go through, I eventually most often will publish this whole thread. But if it ends up being that you want to see something in more detail, or as a copy paste format, get a hold of me. You won't be able to get a hold of me through the forum unless you go to zchg.org, click on the upper right hand corner. I'll show you real quick. Click on the upper right hand corner, email protected. Oh gosh, I am so censored it's not even funny. That might be why nobody's gotten a hold of me. charge.chg.wecharge@gmail.com. Let's give you an easy one. joseph.stealth@gmail.com. That's how you can get a hold of me. That's sort of frustrating, but oh well. Make my email address censored. So the analogy that comes to mind is, you know how a hello. You know how a speeding cop will. Oh, does this complete one of my side items that I didn't think I had? No, probably not. You know how a police officer will have to prove that they tuned their instrument? Well, why isn't it the same for physics? Why isn't it the same for the tiny little Planck constant? When we conclude over and over, they tell you that they concluded over and over again. By the way, there's a lot of money behind them needing to conclude, behind them needing to fudge those numbers to make them always the same constants. If a speeding cop for a big old 3,000 ton vehicle needs to prove in court that he tuned his instrument, why don't why doesn't everyone need to be able to prove that they tune their instrument? Why are we relying upon constants? I think you know the answer to that, ladies and gentlemen. It's because there is a establishment that is dependent upon the answer always being the same, even though it causes for the bad data to be thrown in with the good. It causes for the answer to be incorrect when people are trying to. And of course, you can. Well, that's why all the fields have split off into there's quantum, there's physics, there's mathematics, there's et cetera, cosmology, or deep space, or black holes, or whatever, big gravity, all the fundamental forces, optics. And really, what we're trying to do is unify it, but you can't unify it if the numbers are fudged. That's impossible. So what we try to do is come up with a way, that's sort of what this thread talks about at length, is a way to determine reality without the need for constants that cannot be proven without special implements, special instruments that the common man does not have access to. E.g., a tuning fork and the Schumann resonance. Well, I ended up going kind of normal speed for most of this, so that is kind of the tempo I've set, and I'm about half done, so I might as well finish, but nonetheless, feel free to use that fast forward, rewind, etc. I'll have to get that email address corrected. The problem is, for the longest time it worked great that you could click on that Java and it would just pull up my email address. But anymore, it would appear that it is now, unbeknownst to me, that you cannot click on it to see my email address. And because spam is just so bad that you don't want to actually show your email address to anything that a bot could sniff out. But I am, like I said, I'm happy to make more publicly available any of this if you send me an email. Let's see, where was I? What did I ask? Okay, this is just I start off as just presenting it to audit it, and then I'm gonna go on a little tangent, go on a tear here in a minute. This one also might be out of turn, but that's okay because it ends up being a full and complete conversation. Over and over again, we find that it doesn't like the negative n. It suggests the 2n. So we are fully aware that with closed recursion, you want it to be that 2n. But with open recursion, that's not necessarily the case. And if I'm wrong, we can always divert to 2n. It is deliberate. I've actually gone through this slide before in another video. That's okay. This is more of a big old tarball of information. I really hate how the bot massages your ego. I don't care if I'm right or not. I want to be told I'm wrong so I can get to the truth. If I'm being told I'm right and I'm wrong, what good does that do me or anybody else? You can chalk that up to the algorithm, but I think a lot of it has to do with them trying to, well, maybe they're trying to rub the narcissist in people. I'm not sure. But I don't care if I'm wrong. I want to be wrong so that I can know what I did wrong, so that I can converge upon the truth, don't you? I mean, I don't want to be wrong till the end of time. And I'm fully aware there is no end of time when you're trying to uncover the truth. But I want to know what I did wrong so that I can improve. And then I want to impart that data onto the next iteration or permutation. Okay, so this is where I start to bridge the gap with base 4096. So this should have been placed earlier, a little bit tiny. It's pretty close to the right slide order, but it should have been a little bit earlier. Well, so there's two models that we're going after. We're going after the Platonic ideal, and then we're going after where the rubber meets the road. And so you can have a really finished Platonic ideal, and when the rubber meets the road, as per the forum thread on our forum, where the rubber meets the road, it is wholly incomplete because the numbers are not tuned to reality. They're not modulated to our locale. And of course our locale is going to be different than elsewhere, and even the locale of a tiny little insect or a... Oh, okay, so this is, we've actually gone through all of this whole slide before. This is, did I go through it? I'm pretty sure, yeah, I've gone through this in another video. So you can fast forward if you need to. I'm going to go ahead and finish it out, because it kind of alludes, this is kind of what sets us up for where the rubber meets the road. This is actually an attempt at where the rubber meets the road, and it goes into some detail with quite a bit of dogma built in. I might add that the dogma has not yet been filtered out. So we're essentially diverting. The bot is definitely choosing a little bit of dogma that I know less about. I'm less of a chemist, I will be the first to tell you. I had a gentleman in high school who was my physics teacher who literally wrote the textbook, and that was his favorite joke. He liked to say how he wrote the textbook, and I loved him, but I didn't think that joke was very funny. And I think actually he would tell you that he didn't think it was very funny either. But he cared. That guy definitely cared. Mr. Waterman, that was his name, H2O man. So this sets the stage, as before. This is a lot of dogma built in, but it sets the stage for how to. Other trees. Audit recursive constants. Probably do this one. This one, I think I built this one out right before. This should have been, I'm gonna put this over here. We're gonna come back to this. The same. We're gonna put this over here. Apologize. This is all today's work. And I guess it wouldn't have mattered if I moved those two slides over. These are all very similar in development. These are all from today. And actually, when I get over to the grok material, that grok material is going to be older than this, significantly older. You'll see when I get over to that grok, we will iterate tuning, iteratively tune in order to come to a more precise answer for much of this. No, I think I was right to move those over because I collapse it. What I'm trying to do here is I'm collapsing the tree and I'm letting the bot decide how to collapse it. And then the idea is that I'm going to open the tree back up after I strip it for export. I'm stripping it for export, and then we're going to see how well it does when we try to open it back up. And granted that the that our bot is a little context aware, whereby we actually would want to transfer it over to a bot that is not context aware in order to show that the tree itself is exportable or portable for being exported. So I'm collapsing it, I'm collapsing it, I'm collapsing it. It introduces some pretty interesting, well, where the rubber meets the road, that forum post, we've already sort of come up with the version 1 refined weights for our model, and then this is where we're departing from the and I think one of these slides talks about it, if I didn't already go through it, or if I might have to pull it up. We're departing away from precision and we're getting to something that you can take with you in your pocket into the field. And if we have time, there's some fun drawings that I made, renders, that kind of joke about that a little bit. Oh, sorry, rendering issues. I'm going to go back just a second, just to make sure we didn't lose anything. I made a mistake here, so that was my fault. Well, I didn't describe myself. I didn't use precision of language, which is pretty important. Precision of language, and then precision of language. Tune. These I pulled from Where the Rubber Meets the Road. These trees are available on Where the Rubber Meets the Road in our forums. Wait, no, maybe not. But yeah, I'm trying to make it so that there's versions of the tree that are easier to, because you don't want to rely upon a bot to solve your tree. You want to be able to also take it into the field, be able to just use a notebook or a pen and paper to solve. So we're looking for something that's a little bit more rudimentary. Hello. Getting a little wonky. Apologize for that. Come on. There's that key equation again. It's not possible without that key equation. special sauce. Alright, let's go through this audit really quick. And then you can see there's a bit of dogma to overcome still yet. Wow, I really need to get my own bot online. You let the bot run because it provides insights into new directions to a tribe, but it also makes things that you have to close back up. And this, like I was talking about before, the tool that you use just depends on the application. Do you want it more detailed? Do you want it more accurate? Do you want it to be more computationally intensive? Do you need something that you could do with a pen and paper? Do you want to be the platonic ideal? Do you want it to be where the rubber meets the road? Okay, make sure that we're not forgetting anything. And then we'll go over to our a lot of tuning here. So this is working backwards again. Grok gives you, I don't really like using Grok. Grok gives you such long-winded answers, and of course if you got on my forums you might find out why I really don't like it. Recursive physical constants framework, unified recursive framework, error analysis, tuning, unified recursive physics framework, recursive unified. Might do this. Symbolic tree of physical dimensions. Do this one first. So this is an older tree, an oldie but goodie. Boy, that's really... Oh, okay. That's why. Let's give you... I like to go 133 just because it's... I don't know. I guess everybody's eyes are different, right? Like I talked about in the beginning of this. Everybody has traits that are special and unique and important in a certain epoch and does not serve you in another. I'm going to try to look at this myself, being contextually aware of where I am in space. Is this yeah, I've already started. There's no stopping me now. I might be out of turn. That's okay. Pretty high error. Like I said, I'm going backwards now, so that's to be expected. Pretty decent answers for some of it, but not for all of it. Go away. So close. Whack-a-mole. And I was saying before, Grok has such a long-winded route to the solution, which is good. It gives you lots of fodder to work with. Whack-a-mole. This might be the correct first slide for Grok. This might be the old one. But like I said, my Grok stuff is mostly older tunings to help me to assist me with what my preferred route is. Other bots. Ginormous error for the gravitational constant. That's sort of to be expected, though. I mean, that's scaling for you. Yucky. And then we had some not so pretty rendering errors. Please don't freeze on me. Not so pretty rendering errors through here. Getting closer. Don't freeze on me, girl. Big G. I used to love solving for Big G in junior high. Or utilizing Big G to solve for little g. Some rendering errors. A lot of times people present their work with that, well, when you copy Markdown directly, it has those, it looks like rendering errors. It's not really human readable. And actually it's not, a lot of times it's not bot readable either. Getting there. Looking pretty good. Of course it's a mess because of those rendering errors. Which is when I jumped over to the other bot to verify. And of course if it's sound with one bot, you gotta test it on the other bot because it may not be sound at all. Bot might just be trying to finish in time for lunch, you know what I mean? Alright. That's what I mean, like, when you copy this, if you just are lazy and you copy it, it doesn't really make sense to anybody. You've gotta render it correctly or you can throw it out. Getting pretty late here, so I might talk a little less. Apologize. Okay, this slide is out of turn. It should be over at the end. This is one of my more recent slides. That's okay. Can I make it bigger for you folks? Yeah. Apologize, I'm not very familiar with the Grok user interface. I just want it full screen. Can I have it full screen? Ooh, that'd be nice. Potentially. Yeah, better than it was. Maybe? Come on, just move over a little bit. What's going on here, Grok? Okay. What good are you if I can't? Oh, there. Okay. Okay. Wait. There we go. Page 1. Page 2. Page 3. So we chose 3 constants to go after. I don't know why it needed to formalize it like that, but that was nice. Hopefully you can see that. I'll zoom in really quick. Yeah, like I said, treat this as though it was the last slide, because this is the last slide for Grok. The last of Grok. It's still not the last slide. Yeah, I'll probably come back and got to dream on it a little. I got to decide what is worth polishing, what's worth throwing away. Much of this is not garbage, but it is not worth keeping beside. This is an older tin than that one was. It's not worth keeping beside the polish, you know. It's good for people to see where the amount of processing that goes into this. It's good for people to understand how to iteratively tune, which is a method I utilize to get from the platonic ideal to our finished product. Yeah, this is an older one. Yep, just trying to dump a bunch of data at once. We'll come back. Apologize. Fourth of July is coming up this weekend. Are y'all excited for it? In the town I'm in, they just go hog wild with those fireworks. What is that little guy? That's a nutty professor. only go over to Grok when I'm out of tokens and when I'm really itching to get something done. That may change. They are sort of in an arms race. Maybe they're not in an arms race at all. Maybe they are in fact on the same team. Scale dependent. Isn't it all scale dependent? See, it's just that dogma that you try to overcome. It's almost impossible. That's why it takes so many iterations. It's better to get out a pencil and paper a lot of the time. Alright, last slide. Hello? A little bit of a rendering error there. Anytime I see a rendering error, it's a clue to me that there might have been some fudging going on. I don't know if that's true or not yet, but the bots like to fudge, just like people. They'll be a little lazy. There's that rendering error. Whack-a-mole. So what are you doing, energy? And that's this iterative process. You can iterate. Iterate is wonderful. I recommend it. Getting closer. You can do this at home. Yep, this being an older one also. So these two were the new ones, these two were the older ones. Wait. Let me see. I don't want to confuse anybody, so I'm not going to go over there just at this time. But one of those two at least was newer, and these two on the right are definitely the older ones. So I had it arranged prior correctly. If we don't freeze out. Don't freeze on me, girl. as we iterate, it becomes more and more refined. Sometimes. All right, we made it. We got to the end. Thanks for staying with me this long. Like I said, I'll probably follow up with a more polished version of this. I just wanted to get a copyright dump out of there and make sure those copycats are running around trying to chase the wrong cheese. You feel me? Hope you understand. But I hope also it does provide insights. I'm not trying to confuse you for too long. I want you to come to the truth just like I'm trying to come to the truth, at least insofar as these equations. Perhaps the truth is much more simple than that. Not in understanding, rather, that mystery is the point. God bless.